Good to see all of you. Good morning. I'm joined by my colleague, Patrona Joe Rouser, Martin Nave, Jimmy Manto, Rita Peniawa, and our CRB administrator, Raynette Relaford. Ray, the point of this is in regard to the investigator contract. There's two, for those of you that are listening, there's two parts to this. The investigator as a contract, and then there's also an investigator as a position. They are two separate, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we, specifically for this item in front of us, it is the investigator as a contract as opposed to investigator as a position. And we'll talk
No,
about
it's as the private investigator.
Right.
Not, so which is different than our contract and different than what we are getting moving forward.
Explain that for us.
Okay.
Go ahead, break it down, walk us through the investigator and all the levels that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Apologies, Counselor.
Okay, have to remember that. So, Raynette Relaford, Administrator for the Citizens Review Board. So I appeared before the council at the most recent study session asking to amend the legislation as it relates to our private investigator. Our private investigator has been working for us for a number of years, and typically we have allotted $20,000 for him to complete investigations. And so we have exceeded the amount of $20,000 for his allotment. So I needed to come before the council and request that the legislation be amended in order to pay the rest of the fiscal bills. So he charges us at an hourly rate. And so we don't know how much it's going to cost us until the investigation is completed. So he has provided us with invoices for which we have received, and currently we don't have enough for fiscal year 23-24 in order to pay it, which ends at the end of this month.
So how many months are left?
So just this month. So we
just a month.
Yeah,
So
we just need to pay the rest of this year.
Okay.
And so we needed the $15,000 to make sure that we are covering the rest of it. Now, in terms of where we're going to pull the money from, we are pulling the money from the contract investigator line, which is part of our salaries line, because we were unable to hire the contract investigator. And so I have been working with HR for a number of months, trying to hire this person, working out the logistics as it relates to it. I've drafted what the requirements were for all of that, and I've been going back and forth with HR personnel in order to get it done, and it has still yet to be posted. So without it ever being posted, there was no way to actually hire because there was no posting for which to hire from.
Okay. I want to go back a little bit. So $20,000.
Yes.
You have put in you've spent the whole $20,000.
We have.
And you want $15,000 in addition.
We just want to add $15,000 to that legislation because the legislation only says 20. And so in order to add the 15, we need the legislation to change, as procurement is telling us that we cannot just utilize that same PO because we've exceeded that PO, and so we need to increase the PO, but I cannot increase the PO without the amendment to the legislation because that is what was utilized in order to create the PO.
The previous PO was used at $5,000?
No, the previous PO was for $20,000, so we've utilized that. And so they're saying, we can't allow you to go over 20 unless this gets amended. And so that's why we came before the council and asked the council, can we amend that legislation to add $15,000 in order to pay out the rest of the bills?
So in theory, it would be all what?
It would be $35,000.
$35,000.
Yeah, $35,000 to pay out the rest of this fiscal year, ending June 30th.
Okay.
But once the legislation changed, then that will be the allotted amount moving forward.
No, that's just the allotted amount for this year.
Okay.
So then it goes back to what you allotted for next year was only $20,000 for the private investigator. It goes back to that. Right now, we're just amending this current one that ends June 30th. That is it.
Okay.
What was the total of the investigators, the hired investigators' salary that you haven't filled? What was the total?
So
for
the
that?
contract investigator was allotted $50,000, and we have not been able to spend that $50,000 on a contract investigator. Moving forward, the position that was approved for the fiscal year next year was a full-time investigator, and that was allotted $65,000.
Is that job posted?
No, speaking of that, I have been reaching out to HR consistently as it related to that, working with the county. It is now no longer with the county. It is now again with our HR department, waiting for it to be posted. I followed up with them again today. I followed up with them in April. All the parties have been included in terms of all the HR director, the people that do the, what do they call them? The
Positions.
yeah, it's like the person who does the posting of the positions. Like, we've already done that. We've already, have budget included in it. It's just now waiting, posting it. Like, the position was approved by the county. It was allotted to the CRB. All of that kind of stuff has already been taken care of, and now it's just the posting.
Can we see if there's somebody from HR?
I'll follow up with them. Just like Renette's saying, basically, it is real time consuming, as you all know, as far as finding the position, going through the HR process of getting it posted. So it's all time consuming. I can talk to personnel and find out where they at with getting it posted, as Renette has already. But like I say, it's time consuming. I don't think no one is really dragging their feet. I don't think so. Renette had to do a lot of work to get the description of the position to them and do a whole lot of paperwork for them to get it to them, and and then they have to do their part. So I think personnel.
Is it more of a civil service hurdle than more than anything?
Well, now it's not. Well, that part is over with. Now it's in the HR hands for whatever they got to do there. I can't speak on what their process is right now to get it up on the board.
No, what I'm asking is this position was approved a while ago, and what I'm asking is, why did it take so long?
Well,
is it a civil service? Is it the internal? Who is it?
I think it's the process, Counselor. I think that once we approved it and everything, right? I think Renette even know that she did not know that she had to go through this long process of getting it.
Every process that I have to go through to hire somebody is longer than the average process. That's what's happening. I have consistently had to follow up and follow up and follow up about every single vacancy that the CRB has. It has never been easy. Consistent follow-up over and over and over, me setting reminders to myself in order to follow up with them about it. I don't know what happens in other departments, but I know that no other department typically waits a whole year for a position to be posted. Like, we are at the end of the fiscal year. It is June 30th coming up, like in the next 2 weeks. There is nobody that waits that long in order to get a posting of a position. Now, yes, the process in terms of once you post it, and now you have to, look at the applications that come in, you have to do the interviews. Absolutely, that's a hiring process. But to post a position like this, a whole entire fiscal year to post.
So let me make sure that I understand it. Maybe just for the
Counselor,
record
before
here.
you get started, I don't know, do you remember when you all asked Clevo how long do it take to go through this whole civil service process because the job had to be created. They had to find a civil service position or whatever. They had to find all that. And so he did tell you all that it would take about a year.
The contract position was not a civil service position, though. The contract investigator was not a civil service position.
Okay, so the $35,000 that we've spent in this fiscal year on the investigator, does that disappear once you get somebody in that position?
Yes, so we haven't spent 35. That's what we're trying. We spent 20.
But we spent 20, but we have a bill of 15,000.
We have a bill of close to that, and so I
So
want
we've
to make
spent
sure.
35?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
we pay
once-
our bill, so we're gonna
Right.
pay the bill.
Right.
That's not what's the question here. My question is,
Yes.
so if the 35,000 that we have spent, once you hire somebody, that 35,000, you
Right,
will
we
not need that
should,
anymore.
we should not need to have, like, we should have the private investigator available just in case, because certain cases do require a different level of follow-up, and, you know what I mean, that our current private investigation firm does a lot. So we should allot money to it. But would we have to spend 20,000 once we hire a full-time investigator? No. Because that now person will just solely be doing that when I do that along with everything else. So that is the reason why I've come consistently before the council asking for a full-time investigator so that we would be able to reduce the amount that we're paying the private investigator, because now this person is able to do that. One investigation bill was like $3,000. Like, and again, I can't tell you how much it's gonna cost until they complete the investigation. So at a $50 an hour rate, which actually is lower than most of his contract work, you know what I mean? But he's agreed to do the work for the CRB. We have to wait to see how many hours it takes for them to do it. So we don't know until we get the bill, that this is how many hours took to complete this investigation.
And I think, so let me say this, and this is maybe more of a statement than a question. I think for me, sitting on this up there or here, I have a hard time understanding what the CRB is doing.
Okay.
Right? So, and I'm on the inside, right? I sit in elected office and know the city pretty well. I have a hard time knowing what you're doing. So that I don't think the general public, if they're going out to click somewhere, can say, this is what the CRB has been doing. And I think a lot of what has been going on the last few months is because of that. I went this morning, before coming here to try to prepare and look for reports and say, okay, what are we investigating? Who are we paying? How many are there? And that data, no offense to you, it's just not there. So it's just not. And that's me. I'm not just calling you on the carpet right now, but maybe I am. Like, if there's no report for 2023 and no quarterly reports, we're going to pay our bills because that's what the city does, but it's hard for me to say, what are we paying for? I don't know what we're paying for.
But there are reports, and the reports,
2023 is not there for me.
yeah, the 2023 report is there, and we talked about it, and actually, I have to recall whether or not we actually sent it to you via email, but okay, so it may not be on the website, but it is up there. We typically, but all the rest of the reports are up there. I can get you a 2023 report in a click of you know what I mean? It's available. It still is not gonna tell you, so the annual reports are gonna tell you what work we did. Like, it's gonna focus on just what work we did. It's not focusing on the work that we continue to do. So unless a case goes to a hearing, unless the board votes it not to go to a hearing, it doesn't give you a glimpse of all of the day-to-day work that goes into the CRB. It does talk about the community engagement activities that have been taking place. It does tell you the number of cases we've processed. It does tell you what types of allegations we've had. It does tell you what districts in which the cases, complaints came from. It gives you all of that information.
But it's not, Renat, I'm telling you, you can't go out there right now and click it and find it. It's not there. It was just there.
Okay.
So
I'll figure out what happened as to why it's not up there. But it is available. It's completely done. I'll have to figure out what happened. I don't put the documents on the website. I have other people who do that. I will double check and see why it is not up there, but I don't personally put it up there.
I think from this side of the table, I think that it's important for us to be able to defend the CRB, right?
Absolutely.
In the spirit of the creation of the CRB, the first word is citizen. So if the citizens do not have open accessibility to say, what is this board doing for us? That's problematic to me. That it just is. And we need to do better at that. Because if I can't find it, inside the know.
Okay. And I respect that, and I'm not trying to, I feel that the citizens that ask us, call us, contact us, know what's happening and what's going on. They reach out to us, we answer questions. We provide them with copies of reports. I email it out to people. I do all of that kind of stuff as it relates to it. And the reports basically have, been listing those things.
Renette,
Yes.
you have an open investigation right now with a police officer? Is there an open investigation?
There are a lot of open
How
investigations.
many do you have? I mean, right now, openly, how many would you have estimate with a police officer?
So since I have been here, we've had a total of 577 cases to come into the CRB since 2017.
Okay,
so,
but I'm
so
talking
let
about-
me,
all right,
can I,
go
okay,
ahead.
okay. So when you look at every single year, there are cases that do not get completely investigated, and that's for a number of reasons. We could have a 2023 case that comes in and the investigation is not complete until 2024. That may not be my doing because, again, in order for us to get the necessary information for us to finish an investigation, we rely on the Office of Professional Standards in order to do their investigation because we can't interview the officers. We have to rely on them to give us the body-worn camera footage. We have to rely on them to give us the interviews from the officer, the police reports, all of that kind of stuff. So would I estimate that we probably have about 300 and something cases that are still open? Absolutely. Because one, I went on maternity for 12 weeks and no one was in the office doing any sort of work because my legal secretary left while I was out on maternity. When I came back in February, I had to worry about going ahead and doing the work that was not completed while I was out. There's a process. I mean, we've switched attorneys a few times with the police department that also slows up the process. There's a lot of factors.
Stop for a minute.
Yes.
Stop for a minute. I understand you getting in the weeds with us, but here's the thing. So if you were out on maternity leave for 12 weeks and none of that got done, you're not in charge of the CRB, the board is, right? So what did the board do to make sure that that doesn't ever happen again? Like
So-
see, this is where I'm getting lost, right? So you're not in charge of the CRB, the board of directors is, so you answer to them and us when we ask, frankly. So where is there something in line now that won't happen again? Like, you can't just go 12 weeks. So if someone has a problem and they call and you're on maternity leave, like.
Well, we have staff now, so now I have a legal secretary. So typically, if I had a legal secretary at the time that I was out on maternity leave, that person would be answering the phone. The board chair did come in while I was out on maternity to check the mail, bring the mail upstairs, but they weren't able to do my job while.
Where is the first quarter report for 2024?
So the first quarter report, I'm still waiting for stats from another department, which is part of our report. I still have to put parts of it, but it's drafted. I can give you a draft copy of it.
I think a report up on your website that says waiting on information for certain things is better than nothing. Because
Okay.
right now there's nothing.
Okay, so I can do that, and I can have that up there before the end of the day. I just typically try not to put information up there that is going to then, in my opinion, provide less answers than, you know what I mean, putting it up there, well, why did you publish this when you don't have all of this information? That kind of thing. And so what I will say is that one of the things that I most regret is that I focused on the work, what we were able to accomplish in the reports. I didn't talk about the struggles that we had trying to get done what we needed to get done.
But
And
even
maybe,
if all the information isn't there, right? This body meets every other week, and we have meetings where we don't have all the information, but we still meet and we put out the information that we do have, and we say, I need more information on that, I don't know. And, there's tremendous power in saying, I don't know. There's tremendous power in saying, I don't know the answer.
and I would be happy to say that, given the opportunity to say that. When you ask these questions, I can give you answers to them. I can provide you with that information, but it's not.
But Renette, I shouldn't have, it's not me. I can ask you at any time. I can pick up the phone and call you. The average citizen sitting out there that is just looking to go and click a website, they don't have your phone number. They're not going to call you.
They do
automatically.
call the office.
No.
They do.
But it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't have
I
to be a
get what
phone
you're
call,
saying.
call me back. It should be completely out there for the public to see. What is the CRB? It's literally the first word is citizen. So I have such a problem sitting here and voting on anything or making any moves with the CRB because I feel like I have no information. And that's me knowing you as well as I know you, being honest in front of the public. I don't think there's enough information out there.
Counselor.
We've got to fix that immediately.
Counselor, in your legislation, part of the job of the administrator is to send a report to the public safety chair, the mayor, the common council.
Which I do.
Well, they haven't received none of
Okay,
those.
so again, I'm going to look at my
Okay.
email, and I will be able to show where I have provided documents via email and such.
I'm talking about currently.
I
You just said that
I
you give it.
understand that, and what I said was when it is ready, I don't typically send you a copy that is not complete.
No, I'm not talking about the complete copies. You just basically said that you give it to someone else to have the responsibility of posting it. Forget
Correct.
about.
And then I've sent it via
Can I
email, and
finish?
you
Can I
advised me not
finish?
to send
Can
it
I
via
finish?
email anymore.
Can I finish?
You told me
Can
not
I
to
finish?
send it via
Can I
email
finish?
anymore.
Can I finish? The responsibility of the administrator
Absolutely.
and the legislation says to send it to the chair, the mayor, you know, and the common council to provide that to them, you know, and that's what you're not doing, you
Okay.
know, so.
So here's moving forward.
And I was advised, I just need to rebut, I was advised not to send it via email anymore,
By
which
who?
I had previously by the clerk. And she told me not to send it
Wait.
via email anymore, and to instead, she asked me to send correspondence to the council advising of the report. So I will follow that process and not send it to you via email, and I will send you a letter with the report, and I can get that done to you before the end of the day.
I want to go back to the earlier question. We have a backlog. How many of them have anyone contacted you and said, we settled out of court and take our names off the list from
No.
2017, 2018?
No.
So there's been no follow-up then?
So we do follow up with complainants. We talk to them
Okay.
and provide them with the
All right.
status of their case, but nobody calls us to say, you know, they'll call us and say if they want to withdraw their complaint.
Okay.
They'll call us and things of that nature. If not, I still have to wait for information because per our legislation, it says no investigation will be complete until after receiving the information from the police department. It says that in the legislation. So if I were to complete an investigation without the police information, then I would be violating the legislation. Then I would get information from the police department saying, why did you move on this? Why did you complete this investigation without our information?
Well, I want to shift gears a little bit. Just to recap, Ray, the council is asking if you can send us the 2022. I guess that would be 4, right? 2023, whatever you got.
Yep.
2024 to the date.
Yep.
Let's make sure that that information is also on the website for public consumption.
Absolutely.
Okay? The other part I want to shift gears a little bit is, could you share with us, out of the 2023 budget year, how many caseload did we get for 2023?
So out of 2023, the number of cases that the CRB received was 83.
83, okay. How many of them were investigated by the investigator?
So the investigator investigated 15 cases.
15 cases, okay. How many
15
were
to
substantiated?
So we have a few that are still on their way to a hearing, that we're still resolving, that the board has to hold a hearing in order to complete, that were from 2023.
So how many are all closed out and are,
I can't tell you that off the top of my head, but I can provide you with that.
okay, that would be great. Let us
Absolutely.
know out of
Out of the
83,
ones that
there's
were-
15 that were investigated. Out of that 15 investigated, how many were successfully closed out in terms of there was a verdict, in a
Okay.
sense, right? So give us that information. Now, with all of that, I think there is an 18-month window
Absolutely.
for a case, right?
Yes.
For a case to still stay active. Right?
So, no, so there's an 18-month window, so based upon the officers being civil service people, in order for an officer to be disciplined, it has to be investigated within 18 months. So that's where that comes from. And so many of the times, the police department could be utilizing 8 or 9 out of the 18 months. And it's unrealistic to think that you had 9 months to complete it, while I continue to get cases in as the only primary investigator of complaints. And then for me to be able to turn it around immediately, I should be allotted the same amount of time that they're allotted. And they have 3 investigators. So yes, 18 months is the window for which an officer must be disciplined. But if there is an offense that is so egregious for which you think that there should be civil charges filed, or, you know what I mean, criminal charges filed related to that, then that 18 months doesn't come into play. Okay. But disciplined by the department, yes, within 18 months.
Okay, so let me go back. For 2022, I don't know if you have that number. How many did we have for 2022?
How many cases we received in 2022?
Right.
We received 59 cases in 2022.
59 cases. How many of those are still, were resolved? How many of them have passed?
So that's in our report. So I will, again, I
Okay.
will send you the
Okay.
report, because it says how many were processed, how many went to hearing,
Right.
how many that nature. And
Okay.
again, what you have to take into account is that, and there's a number of parties that have to be on the same page in order for a hearing to be held. So we have to contact the attorney for the officers. They have to agree upon a date. They then have to reach out to the officers for then the officers to agree upon that date. There's a number of things that have to take place in order for the resolve of a case to occur. We can even have
when a case moves from, let's say, 23 to 24, and then if it's not resolved yet in 24, does he have life to go into another year, or?
we have no choice but to. Now, because we do have the ability to make policy and training recommendations, which may not be discipline. You know, so there's 2 different factors. The ability to make discipline recommendations and the ability to look at this case based upon how the officer applied the policies and training that they received. And there's no time frame on that. So even if a person comes to our office and they file a complaint in 2023, but the incident happened in 2021, the 18 months has passed, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to still review it, because we need to see whether or not what policy was in place at that time. Could there need to be a change in a particular policy, and what training this person received in that time? So it's still not a waste, but it is, in a sense, you're not able to get discipline, but you're able to look at what is happening, and it still goes to what has occurred within, you know what I mean, with that particular officer. We have frequent flyers, you know? So if a person filed a complaint from 2021 and we still are getting complaints from a particular officer from 21, 22, 23, you're able to look and see what's going on. Have we escalated behavior? You know, what is going on? Did we go from demeanor to excessive force? You're able to see that. So you still want people to file a complaint, even if it's outside the 18 months.
And I think, Ray, for constituents and citizens who put their taxpayers' dollars for CRB to function and do what it was meant to do, I think for them, they are looking for some tangible metrics that shows that, you know, these many cases were filed, these many cases were substantiated, these many cases actually got resolved.
And that is what happens in all of our reports, and have been up until me going on maternity leave, and me playing catch up ever since.
Right.
I wanted to
Give me a second. Let me finish my train of thought for a second. And for that,
Can I address some of the comments that are being made by the clerk?
No.
Can I sit up here and I can tell you? Can I give you a hiring timeline? Can I give you that so that you can see the work that has been done? So the hiring of the legal secretary after maternity happened July 6, 2022. The hiring of the community engagement person happened November 9th, 2022. So that means from 2021, when I left in November, we did not have a legal secretary until July 6th. So I came back into the office from maternity and had to do the work from October, I left in November.
I want to ask counselors, this meeting is done, we'll call it again. Okay?
I want to say something.
Well, I
This
want
majority-
to say something that,
Let's call this
I
meeting
mean,
again.
Yep.
no,
Because I don't think it's going anywhere. Patrolling.
okay.
We'll have to reconvene again. Go ahead, finish your train of thought. and
Well,
then we can-
I wanted to touch on 3 situations, but I'll just speak on this one since the meeting is concluded. Respectfully to the fact that you were out on maternity leave, things happen, people get sick, things have to continue to work. Your board has been operating in no good capacity at all. Not to say that they're not doing anything, but you're supposed to have a somewhat executive committee, which is on your legislation, it says a committee of 4. That is your executive board. So if you're out throughout any organization in the state, there's an executive board that will have to step in if the ED or the administrator is on leave. So that's the one thing that I want to point out, that moving forward, just make sure that you have that in case anything does come up.
Can I say something on that real quick?
I don't think so.
Just 15 seconds. Thank you for that. I did not know that we needed that. I'm actually already working
It's
with.
in your legislation.
Okay. I'm
I would
working with.
suggest that the board reads it.
Okay. I'm working with 2 other people on a rules committee, and I will throw in an executive committee on that while we're doing the research. I was hopeful for July, maybe August, that we get the legislation passed and we set up these committees, but I will be happy to keep the council informed on behalf of the board.
I want to say something. There's 10 of us that sit up here, and all of us are public servants and care about the city. And I think I can speak for all 10 of us when we say we want the CRB to function properly, and we want to help you. I believe in the CRB. I believe in the spirit and the intent of it. But let me say this. For you to come and sit in here with this body today that you actually do report to, whether or not you know that or not, and speak over us like we have no say in anything, and don't respond. I really don't want you to. I hope he adjourns this meeting. It's actually disgusting for you to come in here and do that, because there are people sitting at this table that want to help you and want to help the CRB, and instead you're climbing over and talking all over us. And I agree with Joel. End the meeting, and maybe next time you come back here, you realize that we all live in this city and need to work together.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.